You have probably driven past a McDonald's today without even thinking twice about it. Maybe you grabbed fries on your lunch break or drove through for a coffee on your way to work. There is a good chance the McDonald's near your house is not even owned by McDonald's, the company. Most of them are owned by regular people just like you. So, how does that actually work? And how does McDonald's make money from a restaurant it does not even run? We are going to walk through the whole thing from start to finish, using examples simple enough for a 5-year-old to follow. Let's start with the simple problem McDonald's had to solve a long time ago. Imagine you invent a really good burger and people love it. You open one restaurant and it does great, but you cannot personally build and run 1,000 restaurants across the entire country by yourself. There is only one of you. Franchising solves that problem. Instead of McDonald's building and running every single restaurant on its own, it lets other people pay to open a McDonald's using its name, its menu, and its systems. Those people are called franchisees, and they run the day-to-day business while McDonald's earns money from every location without having to manage each one directly. Now let's follow what actually happens when someone wants to become a McDonald's owner. First, they apply, and McDonald's checks their financial background, since owning a McDonald's requires a large amount of savings before you even open the doors, often several $100,000 just to get started. Then comes training, interviews, and a lengthy approval process, which can take a year or more from the very first application to the day the doors finally open. Once approved, McDonald's picks or approves the exact location, since the spot a restaurant sits on can make or break how much money it earns. A corner with heavy foot traffic and easy parking is worth far more than a quiet street nobody drives down. Only after all of that does the new owner get the keys, hire their staff, and finally open their doors to customers. Here is something a lot of people do not realize. When you become a McDonald's franchisee, you are not really buying a restaurant that already exists most of the time. You are buying access. Access to the golden arches everyone recognizes. Access to the exact recipes for a Big Mac or a McFlurry. Access to the training systems, the suppliers, and decades of experience about what works and what does not. McDonald's built all of that already, and the franchisee gets to use it instead of starting completely from scratch. That brings us to the first way McDonald's makes money, which is the initial franchise fee. Before a franchisee even flips a single burger, they pay McDonald's a large upfront fee just for the right to open a location and use the brand name. Think of it like paying an entry ticket to join a club that already has millions of loyal customers walking through the door every single day. That fee alone can run well into 6 figures, and it goes straight to McDonald's before the restaurant has served a single customer. The second way McDonald's makes money keeps coming in every single month, and it is called a royalty fee. Once the restaurant is open, the franchisee pays McDonald's a percentage of everything the restaurant sells, whether it is a busy Saturday or a slow Tuesday. Picture a shopping mall again, except this time the mall does not just charge rent. It also takes a small cut of every sale the store makes. That steady royalty payment means McDonald's earns money constantly, without ever having to flip a burger or take an order itself. Franchisees also pay into something called a marketing fund every month without fail. A small percentage of sales goes toward national advertising, the commercials you see during football games, the ads on your phone, and the huge menu boards you drive past on the highway. Every franchisee contributes, and in return, every franchisee benefits from advertising far bigger than they could ever afford alone. Now here comes the biggest surprise most people never expect. Most people assume McDonald's makes its money mainly from burgers and fries. It does not stop there. McDonald's is actually one of the largest real estate owners in the entire world, and this single fact surprises almost everyone who hears it for the first time. In many cases, McDonald's, the company, buys or leases the land and the building where a restaurant sits, sometimes negotiating that deal years before a franchisee ever gets involved. Then it turns around and rents that exact same property to the franchisee who runs the restaurant. Think of it like a landlord who also happens to own the store inside the building they rent out, collecting money from both sides of the deal at once. The franchisee pays McDonald's rent every month on top of the royalty fee, and that rent is often tied to how much the restaurant sells, so the better the restaurant does, the more McDonald's earns just from owning the property underneath it, without lifting a single spatula. This turns out to be one of the smartest parts of the entire business, and here is why. Selling burgers comes with real costs attached to it, since McDonald's corporate has to think about ingredients, labor, and daily operations even indirectly. Owning real estate works very differently. Once McDonald's owns or controls a piece of land, collecting rent from it month after month costs very little extra effort, so the profit margin on real estate is often higher than the profit margin on food itself. That is why so many people say McDonald's is really a real estate company that happens to sell burgers on the side. McDonald's also runs Hamburger University, a real training center where new franchisees and managers learn exactly how the restaurant should run before they ever manage a single shift on their own. They learn how long fries should cook, how a burger should be assembled from bottom bun to top bun, how clean the bathrooms need to be checked throughout the day, and how fast a drive-through line should move without ever feeling rushed. Every single McDonald's is expected to follow the same standards, whether it sits in a small town in Ohio or a busy street corner in California. That consistency is a big reason people trust the brand no matter where they are, because a Big Mac in one state should taste exactly the same as a Big Mac 2,000 miles away. Of course, running a McDonald's franchise is not cheap for the owner either, and the bills never really stop coming. Franchisees have to buy their own kitchen equipment, hire and pay their own staff, cover daily ingredient costs, and keep the building maintained and clean at all times, from the parking lot to the playground equipment out front. They have to buy approved ingredients from approved suppliers, since McDonald's controls quality by requiring every location to use the same beef, buns, and sauces no matter where the restaurant is located, which keeps every fry and every patty consistent from coast to coast. All of those costs come out of the franchisee's pocket, and only what is left over after every fee, every bill, and every payroll check becomes their actual profit at the end of the month. So why did this whole system spread so fast across the entire country and eventually the whole world? A few reasons work together here. Franchisees put up their own money to open each location, which meant McDonald's could expand without spending nearly as much of its own cash on every new building. Local owners also tend to work harder and pay closer attention, since it is their own money and their own name on the line every single day, not just a paycheck from a distant company. At the same time, every new restaurant that opens makes the brand a little more familiar to people driving by, which brings in more customers, which makes the location more profitable, which then makes it easier to convince the next person to open another McDonald's somewhere else. The cycle just kept repeating itself, spreading faster with every new restaurant that opened its doors. None of this happens without real money moving in every direction constantly, day after day, across thousands of restaurants running at once. McDonald's corporate spends heavily on national advertising, menu research, supply chain management, and keeping thousands of locations stocked with fresh ingredients every week. It maintains massive distribution centers, negotiates deals with suppliers on behalf of every franchisee, and constantly tests new menu items before rolling them out nationwide to see what customers actually want. Keeping a system this large running smoothly and consistently takes enormous effort every single day, long before anyone bites into a hot order of fries. So what does all of this add up to? McDonald's is not just a place that sells burgers, even though that is exactly how most people picture it every time they drive past those golden arches on the way to work. It is really several businesses working together at the same time, quietly supporting each other behind the scenes. It is a franchise company that collects fees from thousands of independent owners, a real estate company that owns and rents valuable land across the country, a training company that keeps every location consistent from state to state, and a massive supply chain that keeps every kitchen stocked and running smoothly. Every time someone buys a franchise, pays their monthly royalty, pays rent on the building they operate inside, or simply orders a burger at the counter, real money flows back to McDonald's in a slightly different way. All of those separate streams flow together into one giant system, and that is exactly why McDonald's became one of the most recognizable and successful businesses the world has ever seen.